Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's webinar. I'm Joseph Novichkov, Senior Trading Manager with GDM. Today's session, ladies and gentlemen, we will have a look at several binary option strategies. But before we proceed, I would like to remind you what we've done a few days ago on Wednesday on our first webinar of this month. We've been talking about the expiry on the binary options, the positions, how to choose the right expiry, and of course, furthermore, the right way from where you can actually start choosing that expiry. Well, what we've learned was that the first thing that you need to do is to pick the right strategy, obviously. With that along will come its time frame, the chart's time frame, and from then on, depending on market situation, depending on market conditions at this moment of the day, you will pick your right expiry. So all of this is connected. However, the several ways that we trade binaries, most of all actually, the several different strategies that we will be talking about during this month of webinars, will of course involve several different time frames, several different expiry options, and of course some of them actually can contribute to merging one system with another depending on the market conditions, whether you need a little bit more confirmation on the time frame that you should be using, the expiry period of that binary option that you're trading, as well as the market conditions at this moment of the day. So all of this will be absolutely clear at the end of this month. But today I've actually picked three different strategies that we can use. Two of them, they can be merged to receive further confirmation. They're extremely simple. However, for the third one, it might require a little bit longer time, so depending on how we're going to develop throughout the session itself, if it takes longer than 30-40 minutes, I'm afraid we'll have to do it next week on Wednesday. But as I meant the last time, as I mentioned, you know, there are a lot of systems that I have prepared for binary options because we'd rather spend time on one-on-one sessions as well as you know, developing strategies especially for you. The demonstrations that we're doing, ladies and gentlemen, on these webinars are strictly to get you familiar with what our capabilities are. During our long years of experience, we have found many ways of making money on the market, especially when it comes to psychological state of mind, also from the fundamental and technical standpoint, and of course for those that are interested in trading both binary options in classic Forex trading. Today's strategies or systems, whatever you wish to call them, they're preliminary have been developed for classic Forex trading, as well as, you know, that was the first thing that came actually to know to our traders, you know. So binary options are kind of a new way of trading, but every day more and more people are getting interested into it, as well as we have found out that there are perfect ways into increasing your particular a balance, increasing your account size by trading both one and the same. Therefore, we have given you the opportunity to trade everything in one platform. The only thing you have to do is just install the extension so you can trade binary options as well as classic Forex on one platform, on one server. So before I proceed, I suppose there are going to be a lot of questions, but you know, some of them I will answer as long as they're in context of the today's topic. Some of them I will leave into an email, or some into a personal phone call for those that are mostly interested in, and for those that decide that there are some questions after the session itself and they have not had the chance to leave their questions into the chat here in the system, or are wondering how to get in touch with us. Just go to our website, GDMFX.com. There you will have a chat that is going to pop up. All the questions that you want to ask, you can send them right there, or just to request a call back from a senior executive or a trading manager such as myself, so we can get personally on the topic and we can solve the issue that you have at hand. So without furthermore corners to turn on the sensibility of our platforms or anything else, I would like to continue with today's session. The first strategy that we're going to talk about involves one of our tools in the MetaTrader 4 that it's called Parabolic Support and Resistance. This particular trend tool is very useful. We talked about it for some time ago. Can't really remember which webinar we've been talking about it, but briefly I will get you into the details involving around this particular indicator. It's one of the best short-term trading tools that you can actually use. Traders experience extreme ability to anticipate a certain move in the price of any particular instrument that you're trading, and of course give you a hint of a direction. Obviously, as any particular tool, there is nothing 100% certain in it, so there are flaws that we will be talking about as well, but what we have taken as a conclusion is that this particular instrument is extremely suitable for all time frames, but with only one exception, that the input data is slightly different from short periods of time to medium, as you call it, on the time frame. So one input is used from 1 minute to 30-minute charts, for example, and from 1 hour up to daily, weekly charts is used with another data input. But this, let's have a look in the series here. So the parameters of this parabolic, I've already set them up. As you can see, by default, the parabolic comes with a step of 0.02, also with a maximum of 0.2, which means 0.2. Of course, this is the default settings. This is something that we normally use for larger time frames, like the 1 hour chart, for example, as you can see, for a very simple reason that it gives less false signals on a larger time frame. And of course, when we are using it on a smaller time frame, given the fact here, for example, the particular price direction is shown much faster, and those corrective moves are filtered much easier if, of course, we have the support and resistance on a larger step, for example, 0.05. You can see how it changed. There are more dots on both sides of the price, of the current price, which gives it a little bit more sensitivity, as well as when we're talking about 1 minute chart time frame, or if you wish to switch to a 5-minute chart time frame. As you can see, especially when it comes to binary options, ladies and gentlemen, the sensibility of the particular tool is extremely important. So speaking of small time frames, and along with that binary options, we need to have a large amount of signals generated. In contact with that, of course, the next system that we're going to talk about, it's also a very simple, and why I'm actually getting you to the most simple ways first is very easy, because the most simple strategies are the most reliable ones. The more complicated your chart looks like, for example, especially for new traders or those that are just finding themselves around systems that might be useful for them and suit their own personality, for example. It's better to take it step by step instead of complicating your chart with 5, 10, 20 instruments, indicators, oscillators if you wish, and then getting confused into some of them giving you false signals, some of them giving you buy or sell signals, for example, and at the end you will be making mistakes. So starting with the most simple ways would get you through to finding out exactly what is the thing that you need. Speaking of which, the Parabolic with this particular settings and binary options I like to use on 1 minute chart with, of course, an expiry of at least 120 seconds, or given the fact that this is 2 minutes. Now you could go to 5 minutes if you wish, but then the sensitivity of this particular instrument will generate a little bit more false signals rather than giving you less signals instead, but much more accurate. So I would actually bet on the most conservative way that the strategy could be used. However, let me remind you something about the particular parabolic support and resistance as a technical indicator, and that it's given the nature of it, that it's used by many traders to determine the direction of a particular instrument. It's also a momentum indicator or a volatility indicator, as well as I prefer using volatility and momentum indicators rather than volume indicators, because I'm not a long-term trader, so volume, particularly in a short periods of time, is building very quickly and it decreases very quickly. Therefore, volatility indicators are much more reliable when we talk about smaller time frames. One of the most aspects, of course, to keep in mind about the positioning of these dots that you see in front of your screen, ladies and gentlemen, is that when signal generates, it doesn't mean that you have to enter straight away when the dot appears. It is well known that after a dot appears, this is a support level as we have it already here. As you can see, in real-time data, the price bounces off of this level. So a few seconds is always good to wait before you initiate your position. Now, while we're talking about 1 minute chart, this is a simple strategy, but of course, speaking of smaller time frames, shorter execution time, a shorter expiry as well, this could actually generate a little bit more stress on your brain. So given the fact that I'm giving you all this, it doesn't mean that it has to be always simple and give you all the answers that you need. You have to consider whether you're going to use something conservative but stress yourself for a short period of time and then get out of the market so you can get a break, or stress yourself for a longer period of time but with something complicated or something more advanced that will give you from time to time a little bit more reassurance and a peace of mind that you're in the right direction. So all of these aspects of market trading, especially when it comes to binary options, and that you're bounded into a frame of time that you have to wait until you generate your profits. We will speak about all of these positive and negative effects over the experience of a human brain, simply because staying psychologically firm during that period of time is one of the most important aspects when it comes to binaries. But I'm not going to stress too much on these details. Slightly, from time to time, I will give you hints how to improve your mental stability, especially while seeing your price swinging between gains and losses while your expiry clock is ticking. Getting straight into the trading itself. Now, given the fact that we're getting very close into the US market open, and we're talking about gold. As you can see, gold is highly sensitive to interest rate hikes or interest rate cuts, as well as anybody knows. Recent comments from the federal officials reinforced June or July rate hike from the Federal Reserve, which gives gold direction to the downside, a lot of pressure on the yellow metal. Furthermore, that you need to know to the market direction is the piece and bits of information that we're getting each day close to these next meetings of the Federal Open Market Committee. I've deliberately chosen to show you the gold chart is because among you guys are definitely those that are going to trade some more riskier assets, or let's say very volatile units, and during these periods of the day when we're 1 hour or 1 hour before US market open or 1 hour after US market open, those hours are extremely volatile, especially for the euro dollar. But how does it look for the euro? Given the fact that we're on 1 minute chart, you can see that the exchange rate is much steadier, simply because there are two economies that are controlling this currency pair, and we're talking about pairs. We're not talking about a particular merchandise that you're trading against the denominated currency, which is the US dollar. So trading gold, as we spoke of long ago, trading gold is a physical metal, of course, that is denominated in one currency at this moment, one of the highly traded currencies around the world, gives the nature of this commodity very high volatility, meaning you have the dollar that it's affecting the price of this commodity, the latest minutes of the Federal Open Market Committee. Also, the investors' mood at this moment, they're liquidating their positions. Some of the largest exchange-traded funds are also decreasing their holdings into the yellow metal. So retracements to the upside are going to be seen. Some probably will decide that there is a lot of value right now. That there is a lot of support and the price are decreasing, which means gives them opportunity to buy, you know. All of this is contributing to this choppy price movement. So instead of trading this high volatile unit with a very unpredictable future for at least the next few hours until the market cools down and only the US market remains, which is going to control the exchange rate, we're going to move in something which is much more predictable at this stage, which is the euro dollar. And given the fact that we're going to use 1 minute chart with the same input parameters for the parabolic, we know that this moment is an opportunity for us to trade binary options on the euro dollar, let's say, to go up. Now, for the very particular reason why I cannot share more than one screen at a time, I mentioned that the last time as well, is that I'm using multiple monitors, but for those that are using only one, and for example are watching the webinars on a tablet or a smartphone, or for example on a laptop or just a single screen, it's very difficult for them to see everything at once. Therefore, I can switch between screens, and you can see the price action on the right side where we have the tick chart. So for now, we're going to look at the charts. I'm going to explain a little bit more about the parabolic and its usage, and how you can actually, you know, make your execution as best as you can, and furthermore, the expiry of your binary option. Now, everyone knows that when a dot of the parabolic appears below the current price, it's obvious that it's going to be upward direction. the price is always going to attempt to break that support level. Sooner or later, it's going to happen. Given the fact that we're having a 1 minute chart, the parabolic, once we see that dot on the next price hike as close as possible to that parabolic dot, to that support level if you wish, we are executing an up position in binary options. And we're setting at least 2 sessions expiry. That's 2 minutes at least. Why I'm saying 2 minutes? Now, it doesn't matter if it's a volatile time of day or it's a very calm waters that you're trading in. In less than 2 minutes, the price have not much time to set a direction, or it has very little time to set a direction in a volatile period of the day, which means it's something that I've keep doing every time when I'm trading binaries, especially on volatile times of the day, on small time frames. It's very common that the particular winning position is not winning position until the last 30 to 20 seconds of these 2 minutes. During that time, the price holds below the level of where I actually bid it. So if I chose 60 seconds expiry, that would always put me in a losing position. But if I choose something larger than, let's say, 2 minutes, because there are no 3 minutes or 4 minutes, for example, there are 5 minutes expiry, which is a little bit too much for me and the settings of the parabolic, that gives me enough time to generate my profits, because I don't really care how many pips the price moved from where I've entered. I only care that it closes above that bid. I can see here that there is a very persistent trader here that needs to say something, so I'm going to let him speak. Mr. Ameki, I'm going to unmute your microphone and you can just go ahead and say what you need to say. We're all in ears. Go ahead. Mr. Ameki, we can hear you. Or at least if it's easier for you, you can just ask your question. Instead of raising your hand, of course, you can just type it down in the chat. I can review what you're going to ask us. Okay, so far we have nothing from Mr. Ameki. Let him see if he's got some particular problem with his audio device. So for now, I'm going to lower his hand, and if there is something that you want to say and you're ready, Mr. Ameki, I will definitely give you the go-ahead, and you can just fire away. Thank you. So when we speak one more time about the expiry time and why it's so important, is that we need to give the market enough time to set in the right direction. And the parabolic, as you can see, is a very reliable instrument when it comes to direction. First of all, when we talk about binaries in 1 minute chart time frame, we don't really care about the pip size, but if we're trading classic, let's say, on this candlestick, doesn't matter if it's a sideways direction market, you can see the range between here and here, but that's not what we're interested in. We're only interested in direction. So let's say, given the fact that the market has signaled a bearish direction here, and we have set 2 minutes expiry, we've opened here when the indicator showed us, and the second this candlestick here closes and it opens over here at about, what's that, 6 pips, something like that. In a classic Forex, you have to trade with at least 10 lots to generate at least $60 of profit. But if you are trading with, for example, with $100 or $100 a bit, that gives you at least $80 of generated profit in only these 6 pips and 2 minutes of expiry. But this is just an example. There are many examples here. For example, as you can see, the parabolic appears, you give it 2 minutes, and the opening of this candle here, 3 pips. This is 3 pips now. The one was, the previous one was 6 baby pips. So that means you need 600 lots to generate at least $6 of profit. So you see, that's extreme. And in these conditions, on smaller time frame, the parabolic is a beautiful indicator to generate profits for as long as you keep the rules intact. So at least 120 seconds or 2 minutes expiry after the parabolic appears. Every now and then, of course, let me remind you, and let's scroll back. For example, over here we have 2 parabolics. One of it is showing a bullish direction, but on the opening of the other one, okay, it might give you just a pip down below the initiated price where it gives you a loss. Every now and then. That's why our input, one more time, 0.05 to a maximum of 0.2. If we get the normal 0.02, this will give us a little bit too small moments, like rarely is going to generate as a good signal, because the moves and the parabolic appears when the price hike breaks through the previous parabolic, which was on the upside. That's why we need them to be a bit more frequent. Those parabolics need to appear up or down of the current price a bit more frequent, rather than something that it's going to take it a little bit too longer to generate anything for us. So we can see here that the price is attempting to get, and during this period of time of my talkings, we have the opportunity here to set the clock, and as you can see, the position here was initiated once the parabolic appeared. First of all, I have to remind you that the demonstrations are not an investment advice. So even if you attempt to trade along with me as during the webinar, this does not constitute an investment advice. Please remember this. It's only for demonstration purposes only. Now, let's move back. We can see how the price is moving. This is our initiated position. This is the current price as it's binary options. Everything is on one price. And we can continue with this with our webinar, because we're approaching the 30 minutes past the hour, which get us very close to our next system, which we're going to combine in there. As you can see, it disappeared. It just got executed on a profit. So when we speak that from time to time the parabolic will generate only one dot and then change the direction, these are the conditions under which we cannot protect ourselves. So every now and then you will get a false signal like this one, for example. It's going to show you that the price is going to go up, but instead it goes down, changing direction. And the parabolic, as you can see, it's very close here. Let me show you. I think I missed it, if I'm not mistaken. So let's review one more time. It was here. Let's mark it. As you can see, the parabolic dot is straight on top of this candlestick. So the price broke the previous resistance level of the parabolic, tried to move higher. We have initiated long position. The price swing was too quick, as we're on 1 minute chart. There were seconds where we've been on profit, but then the price closes down here, and even if we have set it many possibilities here down to 5 minutes, we would still be on a loss. So every now and then you will witness a situation like this where it appears only one parabolic or two at least like this one, but it won't be enough for the expiry time to generate profits for you. But as you can see, this is only one instrument, and we're seeing these conditions once every fifth position. For example, if we have considered taking each and every one of these opportunities, every sixth position would be, let's say, losable. Sometimes it can be more than 2, 3. Depends on the market conditions. The sensibility of the parabolic, as we said, is very high. So any time the price crosses the parabolic, it generates a new direction. And as we saw in real trading, we know that when we have firstly initiated our position here, down to 5th minute you can trade in this direction. I would pick 2 minutes one more time as a rule, because in volatile market, as we're in this moment, 2 minutes are absolutely enough for the price hike to pick a direction, basically to test the parabolic to the upside, resist, and keep going down until our clock expires and our profits are in our pockets. This is basically about the situation here. I can give you multiple examples on different particular instruments. As you can see, the same conditions are here. Beautiful signals on the 1 minute chart. Also, rarely we will see some flaws like one parabolic and then changes direction. On gold, this is a rare option, to be honest with you, especially even if it's so volatile. Simply, support and resistance levels on the parabolic are very strong and they're very sensitive. So once in a while you will get this, but even then, one dot on a 1 minute chart is rare view. As you can see, there are 2 here, 3 here, just about enough time. Even if it keeps crawling back, we're getting down to yesterday. So 1 day with no flaws. And this keeps going. If you just set the same instrument on your charts, input the parameters the same way, try to backtrack it if you wish, and you will see the results for yourself. And this is something that I use in volatile days, especially when picking a direction with very small pip potential profit is not an option, especially when you don't want to risk a large amount of money. This could be a perfect hedge or a perfect opportunity for those with small accounts, or something down to $1,000, where you can actually risk 10% out of your account, which is 100. So you see, opportunities and options for all of the traders are there. As long as you're trading with us, you can see that we're developing strategies every day for every particular set of skills and state of mind. So let's talk about our next system. It's very suitable for multiple time frames. It's very good to be used in combination with the parabolic for further confirmation. Therefore, the necessity of picking a larger expiry period and larger time frame is actually a must. It talks by itself. So let's remove that parabolic first. Take a look at the standalone system and then add the parabolic and see what we get. First thing is it's very suitable for a 15-minute time frame, also 30-minute charts, also 1 minute charts, 1 hour chart. I would pick those 3. I wouldn't go any further down on 4-hour and daily chart because there are most suitable systems for this, and we will be talking about this throughout next week's webinars. So you will see how much more suitable strategies there are for larger time frames. For now, let's limit ourselves to those three, 15, 30, and 1 hour. And the simplicity here, we've talked about it in our basic teachings, only 2 moving averages, ladies and gentlemen, nothing more, especially when we talk about binary options or classic trading. As I mentioned, all of those strategies that are suitable for binaries are firstly evolving from classic Forex trading. So the futures here are the simplicity of the indicators, the very easy to follow particular strategy, and furthermore that we're using 2 moving averages with small periods to generate those signals on a crossover. This is 9 and 14. Let's have a look how they look on the chart. I pretty much have chosen the first one here for a simple reason that we can save some time. I don't believe that we will be able to talk about the third system today. However, we will do that next Wednesday. I'm zooming in for you guys so you can pretty much see those crossovers here. It's very important to notice where that crossover occurs. Okay, it doesn't matter which direction. It would be much nicer, of course, to have, to trade within the direction of the trend, but in this case, when we're also using the parabolic later, you will see how it little matters on which direction you're trading. Only if you're trading in a sideways direction or against the trend, for example, and you're hunting multiple entries, multiple positions, it's very important to understand how to pick your expiry. So pretty much the profits afterwards, the reward, is absolutely the same. It doesn't matter if you pick 60 seconds or 1 day, the profit is all the same. But the right expiry gives us an opportunity to trade whether for 1 day or for 15 minutes. You see, that's pretty much what I'm trying to say. Now, we can see here that the lag of this moving average crossover is extreme, at least 1 to 2 candles. That means, talking about 1 hour chart, that's 1 to 2 hours. And we cannot allow ourselves to trade against the trend or in a sideways direction with crossovers of moving averages in such conditions. So that's why we need something smaller. We need more trends. In smaller time frame, you get more trends. There is one trend here, another trend there, and if we go back, another trend here, sideways direction, another trend here. And this, with a trained eye, is very easy to spot. But let's take one of these conditions. The idea here is to see how those moving averages are crossing. The cross here from the slow moving average, which is 9 period, to the 14 moving average happens from upside down. And the crossover happens over here. So basically your entry comes right over here when those moving averages are already expanded. But the direction it points, it's strictly 45 degrees. If we have to just go on the axis and horizontal as well, for example, you can see the 90-degree angle divided by 2, it's 45 degrees. And as again I said, it will not be needed in the future because a trained eye will see that immediately. So if the crossover is aggressive on 45 degrees, that we can allow ourselves for a larger period of time with much higher amount to bet on a downside. This is one option. But when we talk about different market conditions, for example, here in a sideways direction, multiple crossovers. Your crossover happened over here, and on this candle is where, for example, you've entered, and it would be somewhere down here. That means this opportunity from here to here with 2 baby pips, that would be a disaster. That would be pretty much a losable position. So this system is much more suitable for larger time frames when your trend develops after a sideways direction, the crossover is on 45 degrees, and then you can allow yourself to use with a peace of mind for some that are more conservative, because the previous system you saw, ladies and gentlemen, how quickly the things are developing. 1 minute time frame, expiry of 2 minutes. This means multiple opportunities. In the next 1 hour, you're probably going to do 5 to 10 positions. This is a lot of stress. Some might not be able to withstand 2 days of trading, at least maybe even not even 1 day of trading with this particular system. For a much stronger mind, that is a very good, and it's a very good opportunity to triple, quadruple even your initial investment in less than a day. But for a faint heart, this would be a disaster. Therefore, the perfect classic options, classic market trading conditions with 2 moving average crosses is pretty much the best. And the expiry time here, you have to consider by yourself whether the crossover is on a perfect 45-degree angle after a sideways direction, which is pretty much the definition of a new trend or a continuation of a trend. Then you can allow yourself 1 hour or 2 hours, or let's say 2 to 3 sessions of expiry. So when this crossover occurs, it occurs on this candlestick here. And there is a huge gap, as you can see, of about 2 pips on the 15-minute chart. It's visible very, very widely here because we've zoomed in as much as we can for an easy view. Still, in this session, in this particular system, ladies and gentlemen, I will always also use not more than 2 sessions of expiry. Some might consider up to 5 sessions of expiry. I wouldn't consider more than, let's say, 2 sessions. Now we're talking about 15-minute chart. Here you can multiply choose 30-minute chart, 30-minute expiry, or 1 hour expiry, which will end somewhere here. But the factor here that you need to understand is that still this is a smaller time frame. This aggressive move might be very quick. Maybe it happened for a few seconds and you didn't manage to catch it, or maybe you have executed your position here. This is also something that experience will teach you in the future. It is actually by default, it comes that when a trend develops with a 45-degree angle, the first session is the most aggressive one because it comes on a large volume, large volatility. Therefore, from then on, it starts fading out until it ends up in a sideways direction, and then it changes the direction to the upside, or it continues again to the downside. And this was a continuation from the same conditions here, as you can see, sideways direction, crossover on the 45 degrees, aggressive move, and then it starts fading away. So this system comes from the classic Forex trading. But what would happen if we particularly mix it up with the previous one, or put it one on top of another? Let's place that parabolic, same conditions, I'm not changing anything, 0.05, 0.02, and we place it on top. Now this moment here, we can trade even the sideways direction. But then on, we have to switch between 5 and 15. Sometimes when we can see that the market ends up in a sideways direction like this one, because we already took a look at the perfect conditions. Let's take a look at the not so perfect conditions, for example. When the market ends up into sideways direction, we have, let's say, the worst possible scenario is the smaller amount of parabolics that can occur. But first of all, we have already taken the opportunity here. Prior to that, we have the parabolic changing direction. For a confirmation, we wait for a crossover of the moving averages. It occurs somewhere between these two sessions. Then we execute, but we see that it's a little bit too flattened out. So until it takes a good direction, or it gets a stopped out on expiry on the parabolic, we let it go for a bit of larger period of time. We're looking at a 15-minute chart. So we might allow at least, depending on the options that we have, because we have 15 minutes expiry, 30 minutes, 1 hour, and 4 hour. So in 1 hour, we have 4 times 15 minutes. So it might be good for us to leave it for 1 hour. Here, we enter on this one, for example. Let's say we have taken the worst possible case, entering here on the closing of this candlestick, for example, or the opening of this one. It pretty much makes no difference. And we let it go for 4 sessions. 1, 2, 3, 4. So on the closing of this one is where our clock is pulling our profits into our account. During that time, this trend evolved. Even if it continues down, we can still have another opportunity here, because as you can see, the parameters of this parabolic gives you the opportunity to see where a retracement occurs, because during the retracement there is no parabolic, neither up or down, or the distance between those is very big, here and here, here and here. You can see how big the distance is, and there is no parabolic here or here. Basically, the opportunity that gives the market here is to continue in the same direction, but then for shorter period of time, meaning 1 or 2 sessions. So on the 15-minute chart, we have an expiry of 15 minutes, or the best option, 30 minutes. So on this parabolic, the opening of this one, 1 session, 2 sessions, 30 minutes expiry, and the trend changes immediately. So you see, in one trend, trading binary options with the classic Forex trading strategy is a very profitable opportunity, especially under the conditions that we know what a trend does during its development. The longer it continues, the weaker it gets. Basically, we don't know when it's going to reverse. We don't know when it's going to retrace. We don't know when it's going to stop developing and then goes into a sideways direction. All of these conditions can frustrate a classic trader or a newbie trader, for example, that have an experience on the market that lost him or her money, which in binary options, this is a different case, because now you don't have to worry about when am I going to close my position? I don't know. So you're rushing into profits, and then you see the trend continues for a very long time, or you see that and you keep entering and entering and entering, and then the trend reverses and you keep booking it. All of these conditions can result at whether it's in short period of time or in long period of time, still wiping out your account. But we don't want that. So trading binary options with these particular 2 systems, even combined as one, gives you a bit more assurance how and for how long you can trade. And this is a perfect example of why binary options is for some traders and not suitable for others. So you have to understand first what type of trader you are, whether binary options are actually suitable for you, or you would like to have a choice when to close your positions, or with another hand, you are not a very, let's say, controlled person. You let your emotions go, but then binary options are actually putting you down to earth with a ticking clock that you cannot reverse or stop. So that's it. This is the basic concept. Those are two extremely simple, very reliable, high profitable systems that you can incorporate into your trading plan, whether you can trade both or one of the two trading styles, binary options or classic Forex. All of this can contribute to your profitable accounts. For whatever questions, ladies and gentlemen, you might have, just get in touch with us, because we're getting too close to the US session open, so I need to go back to my trades as well. For whatever questions, one more time, you can get in touch with me. Just go to our website, GDMFX.com. There are a lot of attractive bonuses and, of course, a lot of attractive things over there for the attendees of the webinars. Also, this is something to improve your confidence and, of course, your style of trading. All of this is for you. Thank you very much for joining us. I will see you next week on Wednesday. We will be talking about a little bit more advanced systems for full-time traders, or maybe for those that are already on the path of beginning to grasp the full concept of being a trader. All of this we will finish within Friday next week. Until then, we have a lot to talk about. Thank you for joining us. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.